Warren Buffett is worth around $84 billion. He is, by almost any measure, the most successful investor who has ever lived. But there is one quiet fact about his fortune that almost no one knows. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. Of that $84 billion, more than $81 billion came after his 65th birthday. Sit with that for a moment. A man spent his entire life building one of the greatest fortunes in human history, and more than 96% of it arrived after the age when most people have already retired. So, what is Buffett's real secret? It is not a magic stock. It is not some impossible return no one else can reach. His secret is something far stranger and far more powerful. His secret is time. To understand why, you have to understand the one force in finance that human beings are almost incapable of feeling in their bones: compounding. Our brains evolved to think in straight lines. One step, then another, then another. For almost all of human history, that was enough, because the world around us moved in straight lines too. But money does not. It grows on top of itself, and then on top of that, faster and faster, in a curve that bends upward so sharply it eventually looks almost vertical. Here is a simple way to feel it. Imagine I offer you a choice. I will either hand you $1 million in cash right now, or I will give you a single penny that doubles in value every day for 30 days. Almost everyone grabs the million, but that single penny, doubling every day, becomes more than $5 million by the 30th day. And here is the part that matters most. On day 29, you would have only about half of that. Almost all of the money appears at the very, very end. That is compounding. The reward does not arrive evenly. It hides, and it hides, and it hides, and then it explodes. But it only explodes for the people patient enough to still be standing there when it does. And this is exactly why compounding feels almost like a cruel trick. For years, it looks like nothing is happening at all. Your money creeps along, barely moving, and every instinct in your body screams at you to give up, to chase something faster, something that actually feels like progress. That single instinct, that very human urge to abandon the slow climb right before the curve finally takes off, has quietly cost more people more wealth than almost any mistake in all of finance. Which brings us back to Buffett. He did not start investing in his 40s, or his 30s, or even his 20s. He bought his first stock at the age of 11. He has been compounding his money, without stopping, for around 80 years. That is the real engine, not genius alone, endurance, and we can prove it with a single, stunning thought experiment. Imagine Buffett had lived a completely normal financial life. Imagine he started investing at 30, like a sensible adult, and retired comfortably at 60, earning the exact same spectacular returns he is famous for. Same skill, same brilliance, just a normal human timeline. His fortune would not be $84 billion. It would be around $12 million, roughly 99.9% smaller. Read that again, slowly. The exact same investor, the exact same returns, ending up with less than 1/1000th of the wealth, for one reason only. He gave compounding fewer decades to work. Buffett is a phenomenal investor, but the thing that made him the richest investor on earth was never the returns. It was the time. And if you still doubt that time can beat raw skill, consider Jim Simons, who ran one of the most successful funds in history. Buffett has earned around 22% a year. Simons earned more than 66%, 3 times Buffett's rate. By pure skill, he may be the greatest who has ever lived, and yet, for most of their lives, Simons held far less wealth than Buffett, for one simple reason. He did not hit his stride until around 50. He had a far better engine. He just turned it on decades too late. And in the strange mathematics of compounding, those missing decades mattered more than all of that extra skill. Time, once again, quietly won. So here is the lesson that flips how most people think about money. Good investing is not about earning the highest returns. The highest returns tend to be one-off hits that cannot be repeated, and chasing them usually means taking the kind of wild risks that eventually wipe you out completely. The person who posts the biggest number in any single year is very often gone the next. Good investing is about earning pretty good returns that you can stick with, calmly and consistently, for the longest possible stretch of time. Because it is the length of the time, far more than the size of the return, that does almost all of the heavy lifting. It is the difference between trying to get rich and simply letting yourself get rich. One is a frantic sprint that almost always ends in a crash. The other is planting an oak tree. In the first year, almost nothing seems to happen. In the fifth, still very little. But give that tree 30 years, or 50, and you end up with something towering, something that no amount of frantic effort in a single season could ever have produced. And here is the most beautiful part. This is not just a story about billionaires. Compounding is the most democratic force in all of money. A young person who invests a small, steady amount every single month, starting in their 20s, and simply refuses to touch it, can end up with more than someone who invests far more aggressively, but starts just 15 years later. Not because they were smarter, not because they earned more, only because they gave the curve more time to bend. So, what does all of this mean for you? It means the most valuable asset you have in building real wealth is not a hot tip, or a clever trade, or a secret nobody else knows. It is time, and it is the one asset you can never buy back once it is gone. The best day to start was years ago. The second best day is today, because every single year you wait is a year quietly stolen from the very end of the curve, the part where the real explosion was always going to happen. And you do not need to be Warren Buffett. You do not need his genius, or his returns, or his 80 years of practice. You just need to begin with something reasonable, something steady. And then you need to do the single hardest thing in all of investing. You need to leave it alone. You let time and compounding do the quiet, patient, almost magical work they were always going to do, if you simply let them. But there is a catch hiding inside all of this. Compounding only ever rewards the people who survive long enough to actually see it. And staying in the game, it turns out, is a completely different skill from getting into it. Because getting money and keeping money are two entirely different things. And next time, we look at the one that almost everyone underestimates, the unglamorous, unforgiving art of staying wealthy once you finally are. Stay on the blueprint. See you in the next step.